Okay, and we're live. Hello, everyone. My name is Kane, also known as the Kaneologist. Here we have a special guest, Charlotte, who is the owner of the brand Call Me Negotiator, and also very active on LinkedIn and different social media platforms. Charlotte, you can introduce yourself.
Hello everyone. You can call me Charlotte. I study negotiation at Columbia and I study AI human negotiation at SFU Vancouver. And now I'm working on turning negotiation science into real life, leveraging AI platform and also especially helping women and young professionals to mastering these skills.
Cool. Um, I saw also, I did a bit of research, so I checked out your blog. It mentioned you did two world tours and 70 plus countries you traveled to. Uh, can you talk a little bit about that and like how that affected your experiences and things like that? And I saw also as well, you like anime as well. I saw a One Piece uh, blog on there on your blog, yeah. So yeah, you can tell like anything you got about that and let us know.
Okay, I will start it with the world travel story. So I grew up in China, and I actually early on I went to law school. I
Oh
studied
wow.
law, but I realized one thing when I was in law school was that I didn't want it to be a lawyer. So I decided to explore a little more about what I wanted to do. But in early stage, I didn't make the options like jumping into a career path as most of people do because I felt pretty confused.
Yeah.
So I wanted to know where I wanted to live, how the world looked like because back then we didn't have social media. So the best way to understanding it was to physically seeing by myself. So I applied the master's abroad because that was the only way that I know how to go out. But then I got some job opportunities, and then later on, I started to leveraging my first job, which was the position and in Qatar Airways allows me to fly around the world. So I decided to pause my educational journey a little bit and then continue later. So after I explore the world, so after I explore, I realized that I don't want to continue law because that was a little limited and it had some geographical barriers, I'd
Yeah.
say. But then I wanted to still, I'm very interested in, I would say, like interacting with other human beings,
Yeah.
like human interactions, especially when I met so many people in the world, in different parts of the world. So I chose negotiation because that was a major that kind of connected what I used to learn and study and also to the future with open options. And that's where I got into New York, get into negotiation. And the second world trip was during pandemic. So I was studying negotiation and then everything shut down, but New York was really dangerous, and I happened to be in the middle of Central America. So I decided
Okay.
to just continue because going back to China wasn't really an option back then to
Okay.
me. And so I just continue and explore. So I always love to explore, and after that, I realized exploring geographically was enough, sort of enough to me. I'd love to still explore, but then I want to go depth instead of wide, widely. So I continued to do this, and then I realized technology was really a good leverage, allows us to share what we learn, share our experiences, and benefit others. And that's why I study and come to the technology field, start to do content creation, started to study AI human interaction, and then that can combine my background and my knowledge and with other people.
Cool. That's interesting take. I didn't know that you were in law school. So on LinkedIn, I saw like researcher and I saw like world travel for like there's a time block. Then I saw research. So there's a lot of a research strong background. What I wanted to ask was like, why specifically negotiations? So there's like different pieces of things that I guess get tied into negotiation, like psychology, sales, like leverage, a bit of like confidence, you know, like, so why specifically negotiations?
Well, I would say when I chose negotiation, I definitely wanted to leverage what I used to learn, which was the things from law school. However, Chinese laws and American laws would be very different. But I would say negotiation was also, because I realized that it's not really about justice, because law was about justice. But for me, I mostly enjoy studying human interaction, because that's, everybody has to encounter that situation.
Yeah.
And that just, but then I didn't find a clue. So I always read about like the art of negotiation, because negotiation was also a big part of law.
Yeah.
Or in that area, right? So I was like, okay, I didn't really get into it, because I will be honest with you that I find a lot of lawyers who are very good lawyers aren't as good as, in negotiating with people. So that was very interesting. I wondered why. Then I read The Art of Deal by Donald Trump, and I read the 48 Laws of Power.
Robert Greene.
So I realized,
Nice.
these are, the power dynamic between people aren't, like, people are very flexible, are very, it's just unpredictable. It's not really like laws, like structures and the rules, regulations that they act in a certain ways. So that really triggered my, I think, like, my interest to study more. But come from law school background, I would say I'm still trying to seek for logical, predictive things, or rules or principles that can apply. So that makes me feel like this is a good option.
Nice. Yes. So your driving factor for negotiations kind of stemmed from law, but you wanted to take it a little bit further and then explore it because you found like maybe a gap in the market or some sort of area that you thought like you could fill, I guess, right?
Actually, I found the gap of the market was after I decided to make my path, career path as entrepreneurship.
Okay.
And so before I didn't even think about I would be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
But after getting into tech, I was inspired by all these startup stories, and I interact with people, talk to people. So I found that the characters that a lot of entrepreneurs have really resonate with my own characters, my voice. So I realized, this probably is the path. So yeah, I would say follow the feelings sometimes is really, really the truth, but it's just you have to explore a lot. And after that, making an entrepreneurship success, you have to make sure that there is a real market, but the market cannot be too saturated.
Yeah.
So I did some research, I talked to some experts, then I realized this is the market that's very, very under-discovered, but it's a solid market. It's a validated market.
Yeah.
So, that's how I found later on.
Yeah, because I saw in your blog you mentioned like the spirit of the entrepreneur. You have different points as to the different archetypes. So you had like MBTI. I saw some of that. I saw like a bit of different things here and there. And I also saw your used to do clips on YouTube. So and you still post them, but I used to see these ones where you used to do analysis on there would be Suits, the show Suits, and you would do like Harvey Specter, and sometimes it would be Mike, and then sometimes like you'd like talk about the dynamic, getting leverage, things like that. So I noticed that a lot of the newer style of entrepreneurship, and even in terms of personal branding, kind of ties into having some sort of content-based marketing around there. So some sort of video product, some sort of audio, some sort of something that people can interact with. So what kind of led you down to the path of content creation in the sense that, okay, here's my business, here's like what I'm trying to accomplish. I want to make videos, and how do you decide on topics to talk about in these videos?
Oh, that was a really great question. Thank you. So I would say content creation is really a world that you should discover and to find your own voice and own format. I think definitely everyone who lack of enough like resources as the big companies have
Yeah.
should use the content creation or maybe coding as one of the leverage or tools to amplify our influence. And also along the way, we will learn so much about our audience, and the algorithm actually can help us to find our potential targeted audience or clients.
Yeah.
Especially when we are not so sure about where this is gonna go. And I would assume most of us don't know where it's gonna go in the beginning, right?
Yeah.
Everybody figured out along the way. So creating content really was choosing content creation was an option for me to leverage this tool to amplify the influence. And along the way, I studied what is it that people would be interested in. One thing that I learned from living in both worlds, one world is educational academic world, and another way is to be really down to earth in the business world.
Yeah.
Is to really understand how to find the way to connecting both. Because in academia, people think very logically, and they wanted to make things perfect, absolutely correct theoretically. But in the real world, sometimes we need to start to do things before we feel ready, before things are perfect. So we have to figure it out or make things close to be perfect along the way. And content creation is this glue. At least for me, I find content creation is this glue that when you apply the things that you know and you're so confident about sharing with people, and however, finding people are not interested in, and then finding what people are interested in, so that those knowledge can really benefit people. Because no matter what we do, we always need to keep in mind is that people need to, like the service or product is always about serving others. It's really not moral thing, a noble thing that I'm talking about. It's really from a realistic thing that we're talking about. Like no matter how perfect the product, the structure, the theories are, we need to make it serve to people, and people have their own preference. So content creation is, this is what content creation taught me.
Yeah. Like I kind of took a similar approach to you, like where content creation kind of gave me like an insight as to, okay, who is engaging with what I have to say and who is my target audience. So like when I talk about market research and things like that, a lot of it is just playing around with the videos and then trying to figure out like what hits and then why does something hit. So for example, I imagine content creation, I know you said glue, but I imagine it as like a shotgun. So like shotguns will like splat, and like you just do a bunch of splats, or like paint, you throw paint at the wall, just splat everything, and then one of these videos will just spike out of nowhere, and then you'll be like, okay, why did this one spike? So then I start looking at the title. Maybe it's the lighting, maybe it's the way I'm talking, right? Or maybe it's because I'm making faces and stuff, like certain things do better than other things. And then I go back to like, there's a guy named Jordan Belfort from that Wolf of Wall Street, and he says the market is the market is the market. So it's like, okay, what does the market want? It's not about what I want. It's about like, what does the market want? So that's how I kind of figured out, okay, this could be where my target audience lies. The other thing I found was when creating content was I I started off with a bunch of long form content, and that kind of started with the process of like solving my own issue first. So I didn't really know like who I was trying to reach at first. All I knew is that I wanted to move to software development, and I was in electrical engineering. So I started out in the field, right? So in Canada, it's like super, super cold in Toronto side. So it could go down to like negative 30. So my first 2 years of like engineering work, I was doing a lot of field work. So they'd send us outside in the cold, and then we'd be wiring panels in the cold, and our fingers would be cold. We'd have like these thermals. So you'd wear thermals outside to keep warm and stuff. But when you go inside, there was a bunch of heaters. So it was like 30 degrees inside. So like everyone's sweating in their thermals. It's nasty. It's like, I just want to go. So after that, I kind of moved to the office. And I'm just like, okay, I gave it an honest try, similar to like how you did with law. I gave it an honest try. Like I kind of had this idea of what I thought engineering would be like in my head, but I always like had this passion to software, and I kept seeing it as like a golden apple on the tree. I'm just like, that's looking really good. Like, and then one day I was just like, you know what? Let's just go for the apple. You know, like that's kind of the approach I took.
Yeah, well, I completely agree with you saying like, you just throw things on the wall and see what works, because I didn't have this mindset. I think the content creation really taught me that, things in my mind might not work. Because before I had this thing, it's like, this gonna work and I'm just gonna hit to it. I'm just gonna make it perfect in my mind, and then I just put it out and then nobody cares. So it really crashed my ego. So now I really have low ego, and I'm trying to focus or shift my attention from what I want, like you said, or I think it's right. I think what other people want into the market, and then shift it to focus on what they want. But to be able to find what they want, you need to you need to focus on quantity first to find what works. And because I post content from onto the Chinese market and onto the Western, like North American market, so I realized sometimes you really need to adjust yourself and adjust your content to fit the market, and often I think it can make myself uncomfortable. For example, like Chinese market, they like everybody use filters, so it's just like for people who live in North America that are my friends, they don't use filter at all. And then in the beginning, I had this judgment when I focused on the Chinese market, like content. I was like, everybody's it's just like not real.
Yeah.
And then I realized, over the time, I realized it's not them are wrong or anything. It's me not being adaptive.
It's a good insight.
I realized that you need to find the format or the style that the market, that their audience, because the market is actually every single individual, that what they are used to, what they like. You use the background music that they are familiar with, instead of the background music that's so popular in the Canada, right? And or it's just like your favorite music, or your favorite yourself. You need to use the filter that this market like. You need to use the background music that this market like. Stuff like that. So the small things can really educate me to become more adaptive as an entrepreneur or content creator. Yeah.
Yeah, so it looks like you naturally came to the conclusion via like, I know you mentioned the Chinese market, and you mentioned the what's it called, the North American market. So there was we call that what you call it would be called split test. So like it's like a split test. So like you can put content in two places, and one will do really well in some place, one will do really poorly in another place, and then you just find out what kind of works. With mine, I kind of started out with a lot of unfiltered content. So like even editing, I would ignore all the editing. I would just put the raw 1 hour of me solving leak codes online. And I would just put like a timer on the side, and then I would change screens, and it would look really ugly. But like what I found was like when you put, at least in the Canadian North American market, when you put this unfiltered content, you start to get the people that view your stuff really, really like resonate with you. It's like, okay, I'm watching this purely because like Kane's doing it. I'm watching this purely because Charlotte's making the video. That's what I kind of noticed with the unfiltered stuff. Like, what's your take on that?
Um, well, so to be honest, like I think there's a difference between purely wanting to become a content creator or you just use content creation as your marketing tool.
Amazing.
And then you actually figuring out your business and your career path, your product behind the scene.
Yeah.
So I feel like, you know, for me, I definitely located or identify myself as a business person who's leveraging content creation.
Yeah.
So, like you said, like when I post a content, maybe it's popular in one market or another, but I would be like, is this literally like have any connection or help for my business from what I'm trying to build for the product?
Yeah.
Right? Maybe it's popular, or maybe it can go viral, but like, what's the point?
Yeah.
So when I post one content, and I also have to think about, can I consistently create this kind of product? You know, I understand that entertaining content could be popular, but okay, can I do this? So I have to keep thinking about it, and then I do a lot of iteration every time when I post the content, and I would say I still am discovering or exploring, how to make this two market seamlessly be connected.
Yeah.
In my opinion, the future is more international, and the transportation, the internet, everything would be more seamlessly connected. But I would say still, like China has a lot of different regulations, so it makes it really hard. So
Yeah.
now the language isn't really the barrier, but most importantly is the mindset, understanding the mindset between each, like where we live, like Canada and the US, and I would say Chinese, China, right? Like what's the similarities?
Yeah.
And what's the difference between these two different places? And then creating content to make them feel, oh, this is so interesting. For example, like they can be somewhere very different, but they are both interested in knowing what's the difference. So if
Yeah.
you create a content, you can put the comparison with the character and mindset, then people would be interested. But yeah, I'm still exploring.
Yeah. Like, I think volume plays a big deal. Like, I watch a lot of creators like Alex Hormozy, Grant Cardone, and they would post, like, say, like, post 5 times a day. Like, Gary V's, like, post 3 times a day, 5 times a day. A lot of them say, like, volume over time, like, forces quality. So it's like, if you put in, like, 10,000 videos, your 10,000th one is going to be definitely a lot better than your first one. So, like, that kind of definitely transfers over. I want to talk about the science of negotiation. I remember, I think I told you, I put a point in there for art of negotiation, but you're like, let's talk about the science of negotiation. And I know we can also touch on the topic of you were mentioned in CBC News, by the way. I saw that as well. And it mentioned that 75% of people in STEM are men and 25% are women in engineering. And on the research team that you were a part of, they had about the flip. So they had 75% women on that team, and that was all about AI negotiations and like technology and things like that. So let's, if you want, if you could shed some light on that.
Yes, thank you for asking that, because I think it is important to, I think it's part of my brand as focusing on the science of negotiation instead of the art of negotiation, because negotiation is an art. Everybody talks about the art of negotiation. Everybody, what I mean, like the experts in the area. I think they use the art is because it's shapeless, right? Like we said before, it's not like a ball. It's more about like a human interaction that's shapeless, untangible. But because I've been doing research and working in this field for such a long time, and I also studied self-taught, I would say, psychology and neuroscience to help myself actually. And then I realized that there are so many things that the I would say the point or the meaning is for the meaning for us professionals working in this area is to find those paths, those structures, to make the untangible, shapeless thing become more learnable. So that is the point to Cheryl's knowledge. So I don't want it to say, oh, this is just an art, that you cannot follow a path.
Yeah.
Or there's no structure. But because you can, it's not everything, but let's say there are some principles.
Yeah.
It's like the framing or spotlight effect, something that's very psychological. Nowadays, with all this technology and knowledge, we should be able to be more clear about, hey, what is working and why it's working. So that's why I think it would be more accurate to call our work as the science instead of just the art.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to touch a little bit more on this because this is a very, very important topic for people in software development, people in engineering in general. And what I want to touch on, it's not a women or a men thing. It's more of the archetype of the person in this field. So the archetype of the person in this field in engineering usually is a very introverted, very shy, not very outspoken. Like even me that you see right now, like speaking to you, like this took years and years of practice. Like I used to be on the phone when I was a kid. I remember my dad would be like, "Oh, call your grandma and say hi to her," and I'd be like, "Hey grandma, it's me." I couldn't like get my voice up. I couldn't use tonality. And like negotiation has a big factor with like how you present yourself and like how you speak and how you portray your image to people. So like, what would be a strategy that someone that's very introverted could take to kind of start to ease into getting stronger with their negotiation skills?
Well, that's a very good question. Because I would say negotiation is really about, I would say first of all, it's the interaction between two sides, at least two sides, right?
Yeah.
So it's not just about ourselves. If we only focus on ourselves, it will be having a hard time to interact with the other person. For example, if we communicate, when we communicate, we focus so much on how do I sound like? Like what should I say? What's the word?
Yeah.
How's my grammar? And then it loses the point of using the language to communicate because the communication is really about passing information.
Yeah.
So if we can deliver the information correctly, and that's a success. So negotiation is more about communication because I would say negotiation with purpose, right? And it's a purpose that's based on deal making or it's not all negotiation is transactional negotiation, but we should exchange something. We should have this mindset within our mind, like what we want and who have what we want, what do they want, and how can we, by communicating with them, by exchanging this information to let them know that, okay, I want what you have, but I also can deliver what you want.
Yeah.
But, when we have this, clearly can identify what we want, what they do, then it comes to the stage to how to convince them, right? So there's a step-by-step thing. And so it's really less about, we have to passionate, we have to be very extroverted. or expressive, because it doesn't really, um, like, your personality type doesn't really affect the value you can deliver,
Yeah.
right? But it's just, it comes to how you want to express yourself to deliver that value.
Yeah.
And we would also, in my work, we do encourage people, like we have a form, a chart, like we do encourage people to first understanding our own type,
Yeah.
and then understanding another person's type, or identify your goal. Let's say, if I'm introverted, right? Then everything has two sides. If I'm introverted, I must be a good listener.
Yeah.
And that's a great advantage, especially when everybody wants to express themselves. Then introverted comes with thinking more deliberately, right? And then we turn to, I would say, collect the information first. And that's exactly what we need. So it should be an advantage. But first we need to really jump out from ourselves, like stop thinking about, oh my God, I'm so scared or I'm not confident. It's really not about just I think we figure out that. And then there are, let's say, 4 different type of negotiators. There's a 5, but we'll say 4. Let's say one is competing, another is accommodating, collaborative. I would say introverted are more like, probably you could be competing, to be honest, but no matter what, you probably would look like accommodating or something. And then you understand what kind of image you have in other people's eyes, and then you use this kind of image and you leverage that, trying to play this advantage, play this card very well, and then focus on the value, and then say, okay, my focus to be very transactional, so I use that tactics.
Yeah.
Or, hey, I know I want to build relationship. Oh God, this come to my strength because I'm introverted, I'm a good listener, and I probably act like accommodating, or I am collaborative. And then it's really, it benefits for the value exchange process.
Yeah. I saw also on your blog, so there was like competing, collaborating, compromising, avoiding, and accommodating. And I was like looking at which one I fit in, because I did a personality test. I did the Enneagram and the MBTI. So like Enneagram, I was type 8. And then on MBTI, like I was ENFJ, INFJ. So like I'm more of like collaborating type. As you can see with this call, like I like to collaborate with people and like create win-win situations for both parties. I saw also like what I also want to kind of get understand from your side, social skills as well in general. Like I feel like social skills are kind of like a muscle that you have to build over time. So for example, in my case, right, like I used to be super introverted, but I kind of had my entry point into the social sphere of talking to people when I did my first part-time job. So I was working at Home Depot. So at Home Depot, you're not allowed to just stand there. So it's you're actually told to go up to any customer that's on their own and say, hey, can I help you? So for me, that was like, okay, I can use this to train myself on like how to talk to people. So I would just go up to the scariest looking people that I would never talk to in real life and I'd be like, hey, do you need any help? And if they say no, screw you or anything like that, I'm just like, all right, fine. But I'm at my job. So technically, like in my brain, I was like, okay, I'm not getting rejected. They're rejecting the help from this job. So like it kind of like helped me build some confidence to talking to people. And then I kind of got better at it. And then I stopped like choking on my words. And then I stopped like being as afraid. Now it was natural to help people. Then once you start understanding like what people are looking at, you can like make inklings of, okay, he's kind of in this tool section. He's probably looking for like something to work with his hands or something. So like I would know beforehand with my notes and stuff. I'd take notes on all my successful interactions. And I'd be like, okay, this person, like the last 5 times someone was here, like someone was buying a hammer, someone bought a measuring tape, someone bought something like this. So I started to study these people and understand like what they do in these different sections. And then like then I started to build more confidence over time. How would you go about building that muscle in someone that comes from scratch? It's like, hey Charlotte, I have no idea what I'm doing. Like, I need help. I'm scared of people. I can't talk on the phone to people. But I want to get this job, and I have all the skills required for this job. How can I do that?
Yeah, actually, I think you made a great example by your own personal experience because I would say jumping out from ourselves and getting to who you're negotiating with. Because everybody, like this, I really like this quote is that just stop worrying about how other people think about you because they're thinking about the same thing.
Yeah.
They're worrying about the same thing. So if you understand that, but we need to practice, right? But if we understand that, if we can get into their world, understanding what's within them, then first of all, naturally we stop focusing on ourselves. Then which means we stop focusing on our anxieties. Well, it's kind of like the state flow, right? When you're so focused on something, you forgot about how how bad you look like or how anxious you could feel because you're so focused on the thing. So if we can shift the focus on our partner, or our clients or whoever we're trying to negotiate with, then that's the first success. The second part is that to understand what they want, right? Because there's no negotiation will happen. You cannot deliver what they want. Of course, there's some there's something like gaslighting. We do not encourage that. To not trick people.
Ethical.
Our negotiating is really about win-win solutions, right?
Ethical.
So we need to find what makes them feel it's a win to them, right?
Yeah.
Because first of all, I assume that we already know what's a win to us.
Yeah.
So what's a win to them? We need to get into them. And also I have to say, people turn to lying, right? There's
To
two
what?
different type of lies.
To lies?
They lie.
Oh, okay.
About what they want, right?
Yeah.
'Cause if they are sophisticated in negotiator or a business person, let's say, they probably wouldn't tell you what they actually want.
Okay.
And then the second type of people are they don't know what they want. They don't know, or they probably thought they want one thing, but they actually want. So to be able to successfully get into the best situation, which is the win-win situation, especially when we consider the long-term collaboration, we need to kind of dig deeper. We wanted to put more work and effort into this. And then, of course, eventually, we make the decision of, okay, I have this leverage, or I have 1, 2, 3. How can we exchange to make this deal happen to the best situation? Yeah.
Okay. And so it's more of getting out of your own self is what you're trying to get this person to do. So it's okay, now it's not about me anymore. We already know what I want, so we'll put that on the side. Let's figure out what this person needs, and then let's see how we can collaborate and ethically come to a solution. So no gaslighting and any of that stuff. But I wanted to ask, I saw your video on the 100 days trade up challenge. So where did that come about? Was that to just push yourself, or was that just as a challenge, or how did that come about?
Well, thank you for asking that, because I started it. The first is to understanding the difficulties, right? Especially the psychological difficulties and barriers we encounter when we're trying to make the deal happen.
Yeah.
So I think to approach person and say, hey, I have this literally something worth nothing, and trying to make a deal with them. It's a whole lot process of negotiation, but it's more than negotiation. And I realized something is that like I mentioned before, in academia, we turn to say, hey, this is principle, and these are the rules. But when come to real life, for example, when I did this 100 day challenge, or 100 times of challenge. I haven't even, still continuous because I realized that before we follow those rules, we have this huge amount of fear of just talking to a stranger as if they eat people. So it's just kind of weird. I realized, when we need to say something, like when you say, hey, you just go negotiate with this person because you have 1 to 3 and you go to exchange. And this sounds really easy, but it's way easier to say than done because we are human beings. We have this instinct that, prevent us, maybe trying to protect us to getting rejected. And a lot of people are super interested in how to overcome being rejected, that kind of feeling. So when I go out and do these challenges to put myself into that very weird situation and make myself feel super awkward and rejected, and then trying to figure out, okay, at this point, what can I do? When I have the things that's not super ideal, because that's why we need to study and improve our negotiation skill, is that we don't have the best things that everybody wants. That's why we need to learn how to convince people, how to do this preparation. So, okay, I'm just having this sort of like crappy thing. How am I doing that to find a place that, okay, this can benefit people. Maybe I have to come up with the others. So I actually tried it, but when I started to try it, I realized, I'm so stuck at the step 1, and I need to really adjust this. So I actually paused that, and then I come up with a lot of new knowledge that I didn't know before. And then I'm still like trying to think, how can I do the third one? Because I did 2, and I exchanged 2 things that they told me very valuable, and I also place no rules in my own life. So
Yeah.
I exchanged those with the third person, and but I definitely want to continue to maybe put in my platform. And along this way, I think about podcasts. I'm going to promote this to encourage people to exchange those things that plays no role in my life.
Yeah.
Maybe through like podcasts or other things, but I cannot, like pay the money. So it has to change.
Yeah.
Just a lot of interesting new discovery that just pop up from this process. So it's very interesting.
I have I have 2 things that I could relate to with that. So one, when I was a kid, so I'm 29 now, but when I was like 3, 4, 5 years old in kindergarten, I would used to have a bunch of Pokemon cards. So my parents would buy Pokemon cards, and then all the kids in school would have them too. So like we were trying to get the best cards. So me and my cousin would always like show each other on the weekend, or like who's got the best one, who's got the shiniest cards. So like I kind of did that as a kid, like going to each person, I'd be like, hey, do you want this card? And then I was like, okay, maybe if I give this guy 5 bad cards, I can get 1 like medium card. If I get 3 medium cards, I can give it to 1 kid for a shiny card. So like as a kid, I was already doing that and like building that negotiation skill with like trading up in value. And then there's a game called Old School RuneScape where like you trust trade people. So you have to like trust the person to give back your stuff, and if they don't give it back, it's gone forever. So it's like it takes really long to kind of train and build that, but like it definitely kind of relates to that offer of getting your value and then increasing the value of your ask every time. The other thing is one of my friends is a dating coach in Toronto, so he teaches groups of guys like how to like get more out of themselves and like be able to have like a civil discussion with like people of the opposite gender and all that kind of stuff. And like with this, his first challenge to everyone, and even got me to do it when I was helping him out with his camps, was you have to go and talk to 100 people, like 100 women, and with no help, on your own, and you have to just have 100 conversations, and then you'd have like a tally. So like we'd have a ticker, so it'd be at 0. You talk to one person, hi, my name's Kane, and then you go 1. Okay, so then someone will tell you to fuck off, or like be like, no, I don't want to talk to you. Or so I'll be like, all right, cool, next one. And then after like the first 20, 30, like that fear like goes away, because now you kind of in your mind know what the worst case scenario could be. So a lot of these guys like start out, the first 5 of them, they're like shivering. Some of these guys are like you would have thought it was -30. They're shivering so much, right? And then like after the 20th, 30th approach, they start getting more frequent. And then uh, I used to train people with club promoting in downtown Toronto. So like we had to fill up the table, right? So we'll have to like get spenders. So a lot of guys that will come in and buy bottles, and then we'd have to get girls to come to our club and not the other ones. So like we'd be like, all right, our club's better. We have this. Like we have, we'll give you a table. We have bottled service. We have what's called, you can skip the line. We have like a fast pass to get in and all that stuff. So like, oh wow, like the other clubs don't do that. So like they're like, okay, this is the leverage that we have with our club. So like we'd then bring up people. We'd get like 80 to 100 people before like the club even opened. So like that kind of built that skill, and like that's kind of transferable with the trade up thing, because like you have to talk to people. Like there's no way around talking to another person. So like I call this classroom theory versus like real life experience, and then you have to like merge them. So it's like, okay, I learned all this stuff, I have all this stuff in real life, how can I merge it? So I want to ask you, like, how do you go about taking all the knowledge that you now have, so how do you get someone to mesh that and create some sort of they can intelligently operate when they go through these negotiations?
Well, I would say everything comes to practice, because there's hundreds ways to make things work, right?
Yeah.
But which way would fits me? Let's say, like you said, like somebody could just go out and talk to people, and some people would say I'm introverted, or I just like it comes to my panic zone instead of stretch zone, right? This way we wanted to move out from comfort zone, but you don't want to go panic zone. That you get the huge fear, and that you don't want to touch this thing ever, right?
Yeah.
Another thing is that I would say when we do deal making or negotiation, there's so many different ways that we will find that could work. So it comes with the persistency and really, really understanding what you want, like where your desire is, what your goal is, right? Like you have to be really clear about how bad you want it. And if you really know that's exactly the thing that you wanted, and then you will start to leverage all those things. But if you don't really want those things that bad, then it's really easy to kind of give up or say, hey, this rule doesn't work with me. Because your story inspired me about like the 100-day challenge. Because one thing that I noticed when I go out is that it's really not about, sometimes it's really not about the thing or negotiating strategy that I use, because it's sometimes with different human beings, it's just different. And when I'm so nervous, I can't think of those strategies, right? But if I go out and build connections with people, or I talk to people who I'm already familiar with, then I don't feel so nervous. Sometimes I don't even need to think about there are five strategies that I need to use. I naturally started to use some of the tactics, or I don't even think about it as tactics, but it comes with the conversation so smoothly because I know this already. So again, we need to know our and we need to know them, right? And then we find what will make the conversation flow, and then then things become much easier, and we also don't feel rejected that bad, because I think we're sort of understanding it. But if I just go out and say, hey, can you exchange this? I actually made this experiment, but I didn't film it, is that I bought some free ice cream, and I tried to give to people for free. Like, I got rejected for the first few times.
Yeah.
That actually still feel pretty bad, because that was, real thing, and it was pretty good ice cream. So I actually got really frustrated. So, like I said, it's really not about, I didn't even use any negotiation strategy. It's a free good food. But then I was like, I have to make this happen. I don't want to go back home and with this frustrating mood, because I wanted to do something and make people happy and make myself happy.
Yeah.
So I just keep walking, and then I saw a kid with parents, they will take it. Maybe the adults will, adults will be offensive, productive. They have more suspicion come with their life experience, right?
Yeah.
And also, they don't want ice cream that bad. It could be
Yeah.
good, but maybe there are diets or something, right? If I give them $100, they probably will
They'll
work,
take
right?
that, yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. You need to find the right target. And when I talked to this kid, and then, I approached 3 kids, and none of them rejected me. And their parents also allowed them to take that because I didn't look like a bad person. It was fully sealed.
Yeah.
So sometimes you just need to find the right target, and you keep trying, and then you will figure out, hey, something that works. Sometimes it's about relationship building. Sometimes it's about the way you sell. Sometimes it's about targeted clients or audience or whoever you choose to negotiate with.
Yeah. There was an experiment done by someone where he was actually in New York City and he was handing out free pieces of gold, actual solid gold, and people were not taking it. So like that goes to show, like we tell people that when we train them for like promoting, it's like it's not you. It's like sometimes people just don't care, and like it's not a rejection of you and your like what you stand for and represent. Sometimes people just aren't in the headspace. Sometimes someone might just have had a bad day at work and they just want to go straight home. Right, so it's like you could have gold some days, but like sometimes people don't want gold, and that was the lesson I kind of took from that. Before we end off, I just wanted to get your quick insights on tools. So I know you are a content creator, you are an entrepreneur, you are also a researcher. So what are your top 3 favorite tools in 2025 that you use? It could be automated or anything.
For everything, or for content creation?
Yeah, in general. So like, let's say like an email tool, let's say it could be a content tool. It could be like, what are your top 3 favorite, I guess, tools that you would use in your workflow?
Well, so because I do content creation a lot, I would say I use CapCut a lot.
Nice.
Because CapCut is really, it really, I think, I'm pretty sure there are a lot of AI editing that I use, but I would say CapCut is very nice. But at the same time, it's not like Vision Pro or something like that's super complicated. So it completely kind of lower the bar for us who aren't, professional editors to get into the field and make the creation really, like spread out. So that is really definitely number one that I can come to my mind immediately. The second thing, I think I should not say ChatGPT because I don't think
you could say it. You could say it. I use it too. It's fine.
Yeah, because I don't know, like that's just kind of like the new Google to me.
Yeah.
I use ChatGPT differently though, or the similar kind of platforms like Claude or whatever. So I use them more as like one way is my assistant that I normally talk about my brainstorming session just within my mind, right? And then I ask them to organize it because when we think our minds are here and there, and that's where the creativity comes to the place. But if I need to express it and make it content to people, so I need to make it more structured. So they play assistant role very well. And also I like to talk to them back and forth to understand how the things go. But I definitely don't recommend too much about using them directly giving, like the ideas because those ideas, I try some of them, I don't work as much and it can make brain become more static actually. And I would say the third tool, well, it's really hard to choose because I use some editing tools and I would say maybe Canva because I do a lot of entrepreneurship stuff and trying to kind of control my budget. So when I use those AI assistant and when I use Canva to make different kind of flyers and all different kind of things and documents or especially for the free materials that I give to my potential like clients or audiences for free, I tend to use Canva. So
Cool. Charlotte, where can people find you? So, any socials or anything you want to drop that you want to plug?
Oh yes, for sure. So we have our official website called callmenegotiator.com, and also my YouTube channel, my social Instagram for our work, also called Call Me Negotiator. So it's just Call Me Negotiator at the socials, like TikTok as well. But at the same time, yes, our website is callmenegotiator.com. I think it should be easy to remember. Hope you can find us.
For sure. Thank you, Charlotte. If you could stay on for a few minutes after, I'll just we can just recap real quick. But everyone, thank you for watching. This has been a great talk with Charlotte about negotiation, different strategies, and you can find her on Call Me Negotiator. Canologist out. One sec.